So the Baltimore Ravens use one of their seemingly 45 fourth-round picks on a guy I like, Isaiah Likely. He's someone who I had as a top 3 tight end on my board. They did not have him as a number 1 tight end. We know that because they drafted a tight end ahead of him in Charlie Kolar. So Kolar, from what I understand, is kind of more of a receiving type tight end, which is surprising to me because Likely is also very much that guy. Likely is someone who I think is a pure receiver, but he's someone who I think is good. I think he's a quality player and should be a day 1 role player for the Ravens. Now, I'm a little interested in the scheme fit itself. The Ravens seem like a team that don't care that much about receiving tight ends, but let's get into what I like about Likely. Let's get into some film and then talk about the scheme at the end of the video. Let's start off with a play like this, because I think it's fair to say with Likely that he isn't very likely to make many good blocks. All right, that's the only likely pun I will make in this video, I promise. But what you're going to see here is it is going to be a one-on-one block, and just watch what happens. Look, as you see, he's going to get in really not the best position, can't make this block in open space, and it ends up getting tackled. So, is he an incredible blocking tight end? Listen, I'm showing his low light, right? It's not like he's missing every single block that he has, but that's not why you draft him to be a blocking tight end, and that's okay. I mean, like, going over to something like this, like, he is capable of making a block. This is going to be an example of exactly that. Look, as you see, that's what he does. He goes up and he is able to make the block, clear up space to allow his halfback to run up and pick up the first down. I mean, among everyone else making the blocks as well. So, it's not like he's literally incapable of making a block or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to say. Just that, do I consider that to be his strong suit? Not really, but again, he's not abysmal at it either. You're drafting him to be a receiving tight end, and I think he can be pretty good at that. For example, a play like this. So the way this play works is it's a quarters coverage that the defense is in, that the Kansas defense is in. I've circled Likely on this play, the white circle, that's where he is. And the way this concept works is that you have the receiver who's lined up to your offense's right, which is towards the top of the screen. If you don't know your right from left, that'll help you. The receiver is going to be running a go route, which should push the corner further deep as well. Likely can kind of just cut underneath where the corner is, but the linebacker, it'll be hard for him to get all the way over towards the sideline immediately. There should be a little bubble for Likely to get to. And for tight ends, it's less about having, great route running and more about just getting to your spot quickly. I mean, listen, having good route running is always going to help, but, for someone like him, he is definitely kind of more of a just get to your spot kind of guy, and it makes sense because he can do it well. And I mean, look, as you see, that's exactly what's going to happen. He does get to that spot, makes the catch, and is able to pick up some yards there. So he did his job well. Again, was this amazing highlight reel level play? No, but you don't draft this guy in the first round, right? This is what you expect. He's not going to be a Rob Gronkowski type player, but he's someone who can be a solid contributor and a solid role player, and that's what I like about him. Like, let's move on to something like this. This is a great example of just kind of what he does. He does his job, which, again, this might almost seem like an insult of like, oh, well, he's not making stuff happen on his own. He's not dominating at the college level. Don't you want someone to dominate at the college level if they're going to be a good NFL player? And I would say, listen, doing your job consistently is dominating. Like, that's how the Patriots won so many Super Bowls, is by having a bunch of guys who can just do their job. Likely's the kind of guy who can do his job. So he's going to be flashing from the offense's right to the offense's left, and it's going to be a tight end screen here. Right when this play begins, what you're going to notice is that he, is able to get open. Like, this concept worked out, and he gets the football. So what do you want to see him do here? Listen, if this is a wide receiver or halfback, you kind of want them to, hopefully pick up a ton of yards, not just get the first down, but like run even more and get a touchdown perhaps, stuff like that. But that's not what Likely is going to do. Instead, watch him just pick up enough yards to, get close to the first down, picked up 4 yards, and kind of just got the yards that was there, and that's kind of what he can do on these types of plays, is he can get the yards that's there. But then there's also plays like this one where he's going to get more than just the yards that are there. The way this play is going to work is it's very similar to that last play, but this time it's a cover 2 zone, and also he's going to be going further down the field. Remember, last time he only went about 4 yards down the field. This time he's going a lot further down the field. But look, as you see right when it begins, so you notice that there is a little bubble for him to get open, and this is just him being fast enough to get to his spot. He got to his spot quickly enough so that the defenders who are trying to cover him just aren't over quick enough. You know, there's several ways you can do this, right? Route running, kind of the obvious one of maybe you fake as though you're doing something else, and so then when you cut, at the last second, you're like, oh my God, what do we do? A play like this, it wasn't really much route running as it was just getting to the spot. And so when the defenders, reading this play fine, they just still have a little bit more time to get over there. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. And as you see, he's also going to make a really tough catch there and keep his feet in bounds, get the first down right there. So just a great play by Isaiah Likely, and that's what he can do, is he can be a legitimate good receiver threat. I mean, he looks like a receiver out there at times, so that's why there's plenty to like about him. And the tape, you definitely see some negatives, there's no denying that, but there's plenty of positives as well. And a play like this, there's not a lot of tight ends who can do this type of stuff. There really isn't. I mean, this is an NFL level play. There's no denying that, in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of my thought. And listen, I think part of it is like, hey, could this guy help our team? Sure. Let's just draft a good player. Like forget all this, what's going to help us the most. They did draft a punter, so they're drafting for need to some degree. But also let's draft players who are good. And he's a quality player, in my opinion, who certainly could, have value. And again, when you have all of these 4th round picks, all right, start taking chances on some guys. And this isn't really a chance pick necessarily, because I think he'll be a solid role player day one. Again, what's the potential of him, overtaking Mark Andrews? I think 0. I guess 0.1. Mark Andrews is awesome. Mark Andrews is going to be the guy, but maybe with a Likely, he's someone who can complement that. And the Ravens do love to run multiple tight end sets. They do draft a lot of tight ends, and maybe it's just a double dip strategy. This worked for them when they got Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst as hey, let's take 2 shots. That way we can make sure we get a guy we want. Maybe they want a receiving tight end for this offense, instead of saying, let's take 2 of them, and then one of them will probably hit. And it's, that they both have risk factors to some degree. So if we take 2 guys, that limits the risk factor because one of them will probably hit, and we're spending 2 4th rounds to do that instead of spending a 2nd rounder on, like a Trey McBride or something. So maybe that's the logic behind it. It's an interesting move. I would love to hear the explanation a little bit more. Maybe some people in the comments have something I haven't thought of just yet, but for Likely, again, I like the player, so I'm always going to be a fan of getting a player who I think is good at 139. If you can get some talent here, you're doing a good job, and the Ravens drafted a lot here, so should be interesting depth if nothing else. But I think he'll get some catches in the NFL. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.